Hello and good morning for me.
Hello.
Good morning. One and all. How you guys doing? Having a banana and some tea.
Hello.
Hello. So today,
Hello.
hello. We're gonna be looking at this pattern. Let me just see. I can share the screen of the pattern. Of course, this is from David Wade's website, which I love. I recommend highly that you go check it out. But this is the pattern right here that we're gonna do. It's pretty simple, really, but I like it. It has very nice sort of webbing, and the weave of it is quite beautiful. I really enjoyed the weave because it's always a cross. There's always like a suggestion of a cross, or it can be, yeah, you know, there's a cross here, so cross here. Just a bunch of like a network of crosses, so it works really nice. There's weird shapes. Yeah, this is Humayun's tomb in Delhi, 1570. Yeah, good stuff. And there's an account on Instagram. It's called Arabesia, who has these beautiful designs, and he mixes up. I'm guessing it's a he, but mixes up a bunch of different things. So the way I did it here is just a square, but in order to get like a proper effect on it, we're gonna do a double square. So that means that we're gonna take a rectangle. Let me just move my camera around a little bit. We're gonna be looking at this pattern, and we're also gonna do a tenfold pattern, which I've been sort of exploring lately and finding out that those are the most modular of all the Islamic designs. And I think that's what makes them stand out. So get your rectangle of paper, and in order to do a double square, we go once, so once in one corner, and then the other one in the other corner. So one, so at this point, if we do a perpendicular line on that intersection, we will get a double square. So what I do, in order to be sure that I'm as precise as I can be, is I can mix up. So these two are mountains in this sense, and bring them together like this, and get a valley between, and just descend on it. Just fix the camera a little bit here. Also, the reason I changed the state of the fold is in order to be sure that I'm at the right spot. Because when you have opposite folds intersecting at a point like this one, if you do an opposite, it'll interact with it. So that's another way of guaranteeing sort of an intersection. And well, in order to be perpendicular, also when we do the fold, you got to make sure that you can even see how the fold is falling on itself. Fold is falling on itself, and on the right and left, it's falling on the edges. And this we cut away. This we don't need. So if you have A4, I think yours would be bigger than mine. Pretty sure. Everybody okay? So yeah, double square. So I'm gonna send in the chat the picture of the panel we're doing so you can sort of see what's what. If you want to click it, if you want to see it, you want to break it down. All right, so we need 2 8-folds right here, pretty much. Well, that's not entirely true yet. What we do need is the other diagonal on it. So I got both diagonals in on my cross and my square. I'm gonna take this corner, I'm gonna put it up in here. 1, 2. Now that I have these folded, now if you compare to the picture, let me just share the screen of that so you can see it. So here we can see the picture, and notice how we have these 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is going to be our base square pretty much. And then we have this sort of suggestion on it where this is going up in a 45-degree angle towards. So this is pretty much this, right? We have a square here, and we have a 45-degree elevation. So this rhomb, this like diamond shape, is the basis of our pattern. This thing. Now we're gonna do the whole double square in order just to, just to make it complete. But in the panel, it's pretty much, well, it looks like this almost. Double square, and the top it's cut. Has a little curve to it too on the top. So the center of this double square is going to be the center of the pattern. This right here. So we can also fold that back, if you will, on the intersection again. Well, also it's going to be just to the half, right?
You want to stop screen sharing?
Oh yeah. So yeah, I just folded these two, fold them in like this. So this square in the middle is going to be the center of the pattern. And so from here, we're just going to sort of expand out. Just give me just a moment. All right. So I found it useful to do an 8-fold division at the center of our pattern. So let's start with the half of it. And the other half of it. So now we need the diagonals. We're going to keep everything in the same fold, trying to keep all the 8-fold divisions in the same state. So make sure that this is sort of like the most recent discovery that I've done regarding the Islamic origami. It used to be more like you go one way, one like valley, mountain, valley. But I found that it's easier to have all the radial divisions in a single state in order to use the other lines as the pattern lines. And that is to say that if we have the radial lines in the same state, the pattern lines can be used to mirror more easily. So now I have my sort of my 4-fold in. Now this is a trick that personally I do for the 8-fold. Anybody up to here? Everybody good? All right, cool. So here's the trick. Mind the center. Mind the center. When we do a fold, the fold we need to do right now is going to cut right between these two lines. Okay. I mean, where's my pencil? I mean this line, and I mean this line. So it's going to go right between them, which means that when we fold them, they're going to fall on each other. Okay. So when I do this, I'm going to mind my intersection. So this one is going to fall on itself, and so is this one. And technically on the back, it should also apply for this one, yeah? But as long as we have two that coincide in this case, because we have the double square, we can see that this one is going to extend, and we can see that this one also falls on itself, yeah? So we have this one falls on itself, and this one falls on itself. Now we're not using the sort of the double mountain trick. The double mountain trick looks a little bit something like this. So we have So the double mountain trick is we have two mountains like so. We can just do a valley between them. It's pretty much what I call the double mountain trick. Whereas in here, since everything needs to be a valley or everything needs to be a mountain in this case, well, we're not going to use that trick. We're going to use this other one of the double radial line intersection. That's one. That's two. So now I have these two, and now I need the ones that cut right between these. So same trick, trying to find two radial lines that fall on each other. In this case, for me, it's going to be this one, falls on each other, and then this one falls on. See, there I was wrong a little bit. I was off, but yeah. Sort of the shape is what suggested that I was wrong for me. Looked off. But see, now the division also looks the same. Also on it. Boom, boom. I'm just going to draw these in with a slight red, see if that helps to identify. Now again, these are going to be my radial lines, my mirror lines. I'm just going to stop in this square. So notice how all the lines are going through the center. My center is what I'm thinking about the most. Everybody okay up to here?
I'm not quite done yet.
Yeah, you can also look at it like this. Now, if we look at our pattern again, so this is the square that I'm talking about. You can see that at the corners, there's a star, which means that it's a center. And well, if we analyze a little bit further, we can see that the shapes are sort of inside this rhumb, this radial eightfold division rhumb. So the line that goes out after the star, it hits the middle point. You can see there's a center there as well, center here as well. Line that goes through them. There's a bounce. The bounce in this octagon too in the middle. We're going to see how this very naturally comes about. But yeah, we're going to also notice how, well, for right now, the centers are at the corners as well. We have centers at the corners. So we're going to see how that plays into our scheme. So I'm going to wait for everybody to catch up with this eightfold division at the center. You know, table's so bad. Like a table beside the table so I can drink tea. Anyway, center here, which means that we need to do eightfold divisions. So we have the 45 division, and now we're going to take the edge. I'm going to put it on the radial line. So for this drawing that I'm going to do, I'm just going to draw in the line that goes from that corner towards the intersection of my eightfold. That's really all I care about. Like, even this line is superficial. It could just as well not be there, but it's fine. We don't care. It hits, and so the next one also will hit it. So because we're bisecting this edge, it'll be the same if we take it just as much as we did this edge onto the radial division. You can take this edge and put it on the radial division. So notice how I kept it folded instead of just extending the whole thing, because it's easier for me to see and also to control if I have a folded line. Much easier to control. And so I take this and I put it on my radial division line, like so. And now, because the whole pattern is going to be extended into an eightfold, I can just keep this sort of division going. So again, I take my folded edge at the square line, I put it on the radial line, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this going. I'm going to use my back end edge there, this one in the back, as my reference. I can even fold this back now because the line's already there. And then just to top it off, this last one. And now I know that I know what you're thinking. Well, you said that it was going to be all valleys. Yeah, that's true. So I'm just going to do all the lines that I just did, make sure that they're all in the same state.
Could you repeat the last step, please?
Yes. The last. So it was, well, the last step was just making these into valleys. But what I was talking about was how we're going to do at this point an eightfold division. Yeah, eightfold division at this point. So what I did for that was I took this line, which is the line that marks my square. Yeah. In this case, I have it as a mountain. You may have it as a valley, but it's fine. But I have it as a mountain in order for me to control it better. And then I put it on my radial division line. You can even not really take that into account, because when you fold it, just make sure that this line falls on itself. Now, the reason why I fold it as well is because it's easier for me to see that I'm actually folding at the corner. which is why I take this and put it there.
Okay.
And so that's also easier for me because then I can just take what's remaining, and you can even see that that's like a double square too.
Yes.
And then you can take this sort of remainder, if you will, because it's after the edge there. You can take that remainder and then you put it back onto the space you're working on, the workspace. So you take that, you put it down, and you boom, boom. So you just keep folding in order to sort of just shave it around this edge. Yeah, makes sense?
Yes. Thank you.
And then once you have this little fan looking thing, you can change the folds into all valleys. So valley, valley, and valley. So just, it doesn't have to be all valley. I work with valleys because it's easier for me to lift the paper and put it on top. But, you know, just as well, it could be that people, I don't know anybody that does this, but people that fold back, I guess, that would be like a mountain fold, right? So a mountain, you take your paper and you put it towards the back, but it's harder for me to see. I don't know anybody that does it like that. So repeat this on all four corners. This must be repeated on all four corners. All four corners need to be 8 folds. So this is my second one. 1, 2. So corner is 8-fold. Undo the fan. Make sure that they're all in the same state. You can see that this one is kind of easy. It's just really just taking the corner. We already had this one actually. You can even take those to that diagonal line. 1, 2. And you can see even some nice relationships here. For instance, in this point should be an intersection, and here I have a little bit off, but that's fine, you know, that's fine. I think this line, this radial line might be a little bit skewed. Let's see here, let's see what happened. Yeah, there it is, a little bit skewed. So I'm just gonna pivot that into a more favorable position. And there we go, I have it now in my intersection. So it's all right if you make a mistake, you just have to like, you can course correct. And yeah, it's better if you do away with the idea that it's nice to, so the whole point of this is not, well, depends on you, right? But I feel that what the advantage this offers is sort of a learning experience. And perhaps maybe like your mind will see the pattern in a different way, or these sorts of patterns in a different way, in such a way that it might help you if you're more inclined to do this with a compass and straight edge or any other method of your choosing, to sort of dive deeper into those, or maybe even see paper folding as a prototype sort of base. Now, personally, I go for paper folding all the way, but I'm not the world. I'm not everybody. And there's many branches of art, and there's many branches of mathematics. And I think paper folding is just another of those branches. But they're all part of the same tree, right? So they're all sort of talking about similar things. And the more you become accustomed to using one of those tools, so those branches, they're also tools, sort of the more the tool that is your favorite will become sort of enriched by it, by your discoveries and playing with it. So that's what I believe and what I feel with paperfold. It's a great prototype tool. It's a great thing to just break a mold or like think about things in a different way. Bend your dogma, right? I think that phrase is from the Principia Discordia. It's this absurdist book that was written in the 60s by some philosophy students. I don't know, Berkeley, I believe, or UC. Somewhere in California. This book on, yeah, just nonsense. All right, so we actually have some pattern lines here, so I'm going to use a different color for those. Where's my pen? I had my pen this morning. I was just using it. Now I've misplaced it. Oh, I have a blue one over there. Let me go get it. Just so you guys can see this. I feel that the color pencils kind of fade out in the camera. Let's see, I have this. Yeah, these should work nicely. Let's see now. Now, it's a good idea to, every now and again take a pencil or something and mark your lines. So now, I don't want to confuse you, so you gotta let me know if that happens. But we already got the octagon of the pattern, pretty much. So here's how that goes. These lines right here. Wait a minute. Yep. And so what I'm talking about is that here, we sort of have the shape that we were talking about. And now we just need to find sort of where we're going to get to that in a moment. You can sort of start to see what's about to happen, right? So over here, we're not going to mind too much because the pattern itself only has these four corners as sort of like inside of the rum decoration. But we do need this line to sort of also extend itself when what we also need is this one to be on the other side. Now, there's several ways that we can go about this. Here's one way. One way is to fold this line as a mirror line, but a mirror in a different way from before. So we fold this and it's going to be on the backdrop of it, right? It's going to be on the, underneath. And now that it's underneath, we can see which line that we want to copy onto it. We want to copy this line onto it, right? It's the line that we don't have. We have the line of the rum. We don't have the line inside, so these two lines. So with that underneath, we can just fold this down, right? One, we fold the other one. There's going to be a little resistance there. Two. And then we unfold and presto. There's your copy of those lines. That's one way. Well, of course, it doesn't hurt to extend the lines. So once you get it, you can extend it. And so when we extend it, we also have to look for, somebody say something?
Hi, sorry, could you repeat the last step, please?
Yes. So this step is also a suggestion on a way that one can solve it. So we're thinking about this in the sense of a problem-solving sort of approach. And well, we look at our pattern and we have this. Well, I'm telling you, I'm sort of suggesting a solution for it, but I'm sort of giving you this big clue that we already have an octagon. So again, we look at the pattern and we see that it's the octagon, and then there's this torso shape, right? Now we don't have the halves. We only have half of the torso shape here, right? So the problem is we've got to find the other half of it. So my first suggestion was fold underneath using the line that crosses it, and then sort of put onto there the fold, like so. That was my first suggestion. Second suggestion is going to be a little bit different. It's going to give the same results, but it's going to be a little bit different. Now, when we fold the line that we just solved for, notice how there's this huge intersection here, like this big thing that's happening. It's so easy to see it this way too. So notice, it's almost as if this line right here, remember this line? That line right there is falling. Sorry. on this middle line here. So it's this 45 line on the smaller square outside, and this is falling onto this center line right here, 1 and 2. So that's another way of solving it, right? We solve it one way and then we sort of undo it and we try to find a way that might help us. And this is such a big clue, because then that can just solve for the rest of them. So instead of doing this mirror trick or whatever, we can just apply this one and it'll give us a solution. Now for the other one, well, there are some nice relationships here. For instance, we see that also the thing about the mirror trick is that because of the overlap, there might be some sort of possibility of the line sort of falling out of place. Let's see, even here we have this nice relationship, again, related to this outer square. So this suggests, that over here as well, and so here I'm tweaking it because this was a product of a mirror, but I'm tweaking it in order for the lines to fall on their centers. And so for instance, here I'm noticing that this line is falling on an intersection over here. It's falling in the middle line as well. This line is falling on this radial division over here. So with that in mind, I solved for half of it. I'm just gonna draw in a little bit more of the pattern here. So I completed these two. Now I need to do the same thing on the other side for these two. So again, I'm just gonna turn it over in order to keep them balanced, but I'm gonna do it on this side now. So I said it was gonna be this diagonal line of the small square, put it on, so I can even fold it down and I can take it up like this, 1, 2. So it's 1. That's 2. So what I really like about the Islamic patterns, at least, in the ancient world or, the old school, like these sorts of patterns that we're looking at right now, is that there's a very big relationship between the rectangle they use and the pattern itself. And so we see now how everything is sort of related or falling together, which is really cool. So we said that one, and we also said for this one, yeah. So here and here, pretty much just falling on, oh wait, we're doing mountains. Everybody okay to this point? So we got the torsos.
So I've used the mirroring trick to get the four torsos, because of which I do not have that bigger diamond foot. Is that all right?
What do you mean? So when you do the torsos, you don't have this diamond shape?
Yes, I don't have the full shape. I just have it as much as is required for the torsos.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
All right.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. Yeah, because really the pattern is sort of very locally located. So it doesn't require the whole line for it. I mean, it will come into play later on because eventually this might hit another line on the pattern itself. So usually when I fold these line patterns, I do extend the whole line, but it's better in some cases to not do that. I mean, do it the way you're doing it, or just get what you need and then that's it. That's also a nice approach to it. Everybody good up to here? Okay, so we're gonna get the star in the center now. We're gonna find the star, and so the star is located at the 8 3 points. So again, I'm gonna just really quick. I'm just gonna share the screen so I can show you what I mean. All right, so we look at it. We have the rum, we have the torso shape, and now we want this sort of, I don't even know what to call this shape, and then the star. This shape's what I mean, and then the star. So we just sort of do an imaginary line. Just sort of take an imaginary line, boop. Can you see that? Can you see how clear that is? Just take an imaginary line and then it hits right there. And so if we keep the line going on the other side, it's gonna hit right here. So this is going 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. So this is the 8 3 star. So it goes 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's a line that goes from here to here. So in this case, I'm taking these 2 points and I'm folding on those 2 points. Now again, I'm just making sure that the line actually goes through the points. It's a good idea to sort of lift it up to your head, accommodate it, see it properly. And because this line is going to be perpendicular to one of the radial lines, we also have to note how this line falls on itself. So this line does extend to another one. And so do these two. So this one falls on a line and this one falls on a line. So that guarantees, so this one is falling on itself right there. Falling. Over here we have some falling as well. And over here we have some falling. So these lines are falling on themselves, which means that they're perpendicular. So that's another way of pivoting it around. And again, we see another relationship to this diagonal line. We see that that is falling on the top of the square. So isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? We only need, so it's almost like we are basing our pattern off of these sort of smaller double squares on the corners there. So this, again, falling on the top of our square tile. So we have the diagonal of the square there. We can just put that, lift it, and we put it on the top of our square tile. And sort of many beautiful shapes are coming out. We have this little small square here with the eightfold division, the line with the silver rectangle, A lot of the root 2 relationships can happen very naturally, So 1, 2. We'll do the other ones as well with that trick. So again, it's the 45° to the top of the square tile. 1. And see, I'm going to use even this here, this corner. Fold that into a spike just to see it better. And put that onto the top of the tile. You can even see how that actually falls on this radial line. It's not a radial line, sorry, but on this line, which goes through there, it falls on it, so that's nice. Now here's another trick. I'm just gonna draw in some lines real quick. All right. So here's the shape that I'm looking for. I found it, right? But now I want it to be on to its right. I want the shape to appear here as well. I can do the 8-3 sort of countdown again. I can go 0, 1, 2, 3, draw a point there, but I'm going to show you this other trick. Now, the radial lines I have here are in valleys, and the pattern lines are in mountains. So I'm going to take this pattern line, the one that's drawing the little bottom there of this shield shape. I fold it, and then I have this radial line where I would have sprung my 8-3 from, right? This I would have drawn another 8-3 there. But instead of doing that, I'm just going to take this radial line, I'm going to sort of fold it outwards like this. So see, this is actually becoming 3D right here. Again, radial line, where it hits my octagon, I lift, comes 3D. I'm going to just I rotate it, but you know, that's one of my things I do wrong as an origami teacher through internet. I rotate the model around too much, confuses the audience. But the idea is falling on this edge. So this is the idea, right? Line coming in, bounces out. So that's another way of mirroring. It's a more interactive way of mirroring because it doesn't have the overlap. It rather uses sort of an intersection. Hits, bounces out, falls down. Gives me this triangle shape here. And now I can see that it's actually missing. That's because usually the mirror is not, you know, that precise, but it does give me a super duper good idea. So once that's said, I can sort of pivot it around and get to my point where I actually need it to be. And see, there's a bunch of relationships here that are coming out towards me. See, another one related to that outer one. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't this how much these two lines are related to the pattern? This 45 coming in and falling on the edge. Isn't that so cool? And it's opposite edge. So if it's this one, it's falling on that one. So it means that this one is falling over here on this one. So again, personally, I use the mirrors in order to guide me. Just in order to get close to where I need to be. And once I found something that I can use as a cornerstone, as a base, as a foundation, I go for that and I stop using the mirrors. Because it usually happens, you know, the mirrors have this tendency to be bound by your ability to notice things. And the things we're working with are either very small or very precise. So it's hard to, you know, actually land on their exact sort of coordinates, if you will. So, you know, it doesn't hurt to pivot it around, make it, you know, make it nice. So again, so what I did was actually interesting. I got this one on the bottom over here. Oh, got this line. Some sort of problem is going to go down. Yeah, okay, so let's do these first. So let's do the ones where the 45, where these cornerstone lines are falling on the edge. Let's do those. Yeah, 45, falling on edge, already got that one. So the other side, small square, falling on opposite edge. Now, as much as I would like to just give you the instructions, I also do this in a sort of hands-on approach as I'm teaching it, because I want you to see these as puzzles, as problems to solve. So it's good to not only me give you the instructions, but actually for you to witness sort of how one of these could be solved or how to approach a solution. Because the idea is that, you know, this is supposed to inform you. One of the more strong aspects to paper folding is that how dirty, you know, it can get. And that's an advantage because it's a prototype, because the real sort of knowledge, the sort of game is in your head, inside of your mind, imagination. Your mind's eye, you know, becomes a little bit wider. in ways that we don't really understand. So you might be like, you know, I fold the paper, I did the Islamic pattern, I went out into the world and it looks the same. Well, there's a world that you don't see that you know, that's inside of you. And that's the world that's sort of becoming informed. Okay, so now we have the shield shapes. We have the star in the center. We have the 4 torsos. It's all coming together. So now what we need to do is sort of like the drum shapes that describe this outer star. Actually, you can see the star sort of becoming described there. Now this shape is very interesting because it has like a little hammer shape to it. But the way that I figured is that it's sort of like, it has a mirror shape on it. So it has, it's almost as if there's some line that cuts through it in the middle and bounces it back. But instead of actually using like folding a line through the middle and then bouncing it back, which is nonsense, we can just see how the line that's describing it, it's inside of this little square, this little square here, little square. And so we have this little square and then falls out, back, then up. And then we just need to do pretty much this over here. So we see where this line comes from. It comes from this diagonal line. So again, I'm just going to show you the pattern on the share screen thing. So here's what I mean now. We have the torso shape here, and then we have this tiny little square. We can even see like this imaginary line. If we did an imaginary line here to here, that would be the 2 points. And then well, we have that, this we already got, the one that goes, cuts right through it. But you can see how it goes from here to here, right? It cuts through the diagonal of the square, which means that if we just do another diagonal of that square, we'll get what we need. And it's interesting because it actually even falls on this center point, this half point, which means that it's here. So we have our square. I have my radial line, the diagonal, and I need the other diagonal. So just keep in mind that square, diagonal, diagonal. Points are matching. It's all beautiful. It's all nice. It's all good. We're learning. And boom, there it is. Diagonal line of this square, this tiny little square here. Second diagonal line makes a cross, goes up. I stop at the center. And now I just need the line that goes from that center towards the outskirts. It's towards where it meets that one. So I notice that it's a bisection. It's kind of easy to do. We can actually do the double mountain trick. Well, at least that's what apparently what I'm doing. So the double mountain trick is pretty much just a bisection. Pretty much, it's just a bisection, that's what it is. So the double mountain trick involves having a line, a mountain, and then taking those mountains and putting a valley between. And the fold is gonna fall, so the fold is gonna fall right between them, right into. So I'm pretty lucky to live in where I live, I feel. There's very many beautiful mountains around these parts. And yesterday, well, the day before yesterday, I went up to a little hike up in the mountains, which is why the class moved. And the reason why it was so urgent to go is because they just opened. They're just reopening it, and that part of those mountains, that part was just like closed off for like 3 months. Nobody went up there. So we were like the first people up there. And, you know, of course, we wore the masks and we had the social distancing and whatnot from the people, the locals. I'm not going to be the one, the city slicker, that's going to give the poor people up there. You know, they're so great. You know, they've been isolated and such. I'm not going to give them no COVID-19, hell no. So I wore my mask, washed my hands. We went on our merry way. But it's interesting to think about like mountains as these ridges and sort of cuts in the earth and all these rocks falling down and breaking into smaller pieces. It's great finding animals, a lot of insects, a lot of rocks, a lot of birds, some beautiful, beautiful birds up there. All right, so we have now this hammer shape on one side, but well, we might as well just get around, right? So it goes square, uppity. This one would go up there, although this one would extend a little bit further, right? No, it does extend just to there. And then we just need the line that closes these off, right? So you can even see how this one is actually falling. The edge is falling on, man, it's so beautiful. This is so, so beautiful, the way this is related to this double square, because I hadn't done it in a double square, to be honest with you. I did it in a single square, it's like, oh yeah, this is nice and all. Now I'm doing it in a double square, this is like, oh my God, this is so true. Like, this is just the way I want it to be. This is what the pattern was. It's a double square. Well, these lines are complete. And so now I have my 4 hammers around this point, around the center. Going around. And so because we said that, you know, the pattern is made up of a crisscross shape, we can actually see that this line is going to extend. We actually have like that 8-3 at this point, which is what's describing the shield shape, right? So we have that too. We have this one. We have this one. Now we just need sort of the bounce of here when it goes back, boom, boom, which is going to be this 8-3 at this point. Just to finish describing these. So another way of thinking about it, if we don't have like another point to describe the 8-3, what we can do is that just notice where the 8-3 is going to be parallel. Now this is going to be sounding a little bit weird, but here's how that works. So we have an 8-3 here. And now the 8-3 is going to be moving towards this other point outside of it. The advantage is that it's going to be parallel, right? So even so, we can see how this one, the lines that are perpendicular are the clue. So it's going to be that line and that line. These lines are perpendicular. Maybe you can see that a little bit better here. Perpendicular, perpendicular. Same lines are going to be perpendicular, but now we're going to put it at this point. Sorts of relationships popping up. Okay, what I mean by that is that it needs to fall on the line. So these lines have to be falling on themselves, themselves. All these lines. And so what that does is it sort of guarantees perpendicularity.
Could you repeat the last step, please?
Yes. Okay, so here's the puzzle piece. We need to complete this shield shape right here. So we have the outer part of the shield. Now we need the one that's in. So we have the sort of the outer octagon. It's sort of that's there for us. I'm just going to finish this sort of step. You can almost see the edges of that octagon. This one actually does continue. Yeah, a little bit there. So we describe then the shield shapes as the 8-3, right? So that means that at this point, there's going to be an 8-3 there. Now, if you notice, we already have an 8-3 at the following point there on the torso. So we're going to take advantage of that And we're going to just use them as sort of parallel lines. They have to be parallel, these two lines. So it's this line and this line, the one we're drawing. This line I'm drawing here is what we're looking for. They're going to be parallel. So they're going to fall on the same lines. So this one we already got, right? And the one we're looking for, just so happens, is actually going to fall on the top of your little star there. You see that? It falls on the little star. Falls on the little star and hits the torso on the opposite point. So first one was here, second one's going to be at that point. And just keep on straight, keep on keeping on. And what's cool is that, well, the more of these lines we sort of put in, the more you're going to sort of realize that the pattern we're choosing is just maybe one of many. So that's also a suggestion. Sort of comes up a lot in these sort of folds. That maybe, you know, if we had more imagination, we could try to find some other arrangement which could describe another pattern. So again, I'm just making sure that these lines are falling on themselves, falling on themselves. See, now this one is a very nice relationship here. Middle line, this point here, falling on the middle line. Ba, ba. And you use your finger there, there. You can also see how this one is falling on the same point. Now this is one of the most extensive lines, right? It goes right through everything, and so it might be a little daunting at first, but you know, fret not, fear not. So this is a part where, you know, it might be useful to use mirrors. You know, eventually you're gonna sort of have to sort of figure that out. Which lines are you willing to mirror and which ones aren't you willing to mirror? But yeah, no, this one's a short one, so, you know, this is no trouble. So again, look for the puzzle, like keep your eye on the prize, right? Keep your eye on the prize. Know or suspect at least what you're sort of going for, at least. So for instance, here, we could do a mirror line. For this one, it comes down here. Do a mirror for that one. Or, you know, you could just notice that that's gonna fall there. So you can anticipate things as well. Again, this one is the edge onto the 45 division radial line. Yeah, now we just need the last one, which is going to be just sort of there. So for this one, yeah, it might be better to do the mirror. Now, where you want to do it is the interesting part. So see, for instance, you could do it for this point only. So this fold, this whole thing, this whole line, I already have this fold. This whole line, I already have it. What I don't have is this tiny little bit there. Tiny little bit. You know, if I extended this line, it will go through there. So that point could also be my mirror. I could mirror this one using the radial line. Now the thing about mirrors is that it changes state after the point that you're going to choose the intersection at. So the point of incidence is also the point where there's going to be this shift in the state. It's going to change from a valley to a mountain, from a mountain to a valley. So I've extended a little bit there. Let's see. You can see now that it's also like the opposite edge of the square falling on the 45 line. 45 line, opposite edge, falling on it. Perfect, so you can just fold the other one. Fall on her as well. Man, you know, it's like almost as if we only needed these lines and then everything else just fell into place. I am the prize. So these lines are all part of the octagon. So I'm just like putting in those, which I already got. Still missing the sort of the hammer shapes there. Missing some lines here as well. So again, like for this one, I know that that's going to originate at that corner, and these lines are all going to fall on themselves. Falling. So again, remember, I am the price. I am the price. I think this one went a little bit low. Take it a little higher. It looks better. Actually hitting at the intersection. Also mind your intersections. Mind your intersections. So now, as you can see, we're starting to form another opposite torsos. Torso. So it's like, you know, the torsos are all aligned on these lines. So, you know, taking that into account, we just got to form another 45 rump there on the bottom, like so. So at this middle bottom point, taking that up. This actually will extend further all the way. This is marking our octagon. Torso's done. We even have some lines of the shield. We don't have all of them because this is the H3 coming in at the top of that. So we're almost done with this side. And the advantage to completing only one half is that we can use these lines as mirrors for the other. So here's an example for that. I should finish first, but I just want to show you this quick trick. So let's say that I'm going to use no bouncing, no mirrors in the sense of bouncing, but mirrors in another sense. So here, for instance, take this line, which I got. There might be some nice reference to it, but what I can do is I can just fold it that way. I can fold the middle line like so. And then just like that, I have where the fold is. So I can just put that on my table, make sure that it's all aligned real nice. I can do that. And you just sort of copy that line onto it. And of course, you know, pivot it around, make it context sensitive, make it fall on the right point. But see, that's another trick that you can do. So you can also, so you solve for half, and then you can use that half to inform the other half. And of course, you know, there are the lines that bounce from the middle line, which you can use as well. But I think the trickier ones are the ones that precisely do not cross this middle line. Well, quote unquote, right? I'll take it with a grain of salt. Also, what you can do, say, for instance, I have it on this quarter, but not on this quarter. So I can even fold here, fold on the other half, right? And then sort of use that as a mirror. So you see what I mean? Like how interesting it is to like sort of bend the way you look at the things. So you're forced to redefine your meanings, your structure, your thought structure, the way you perceive almost. And what's cool about all of this is that, you know, perhaps you might sort of become inspired to try this other relationship that might not be entirely obvious. Everybody okay up to this point though? We good? All right. And just finally, I just need this one line there at the bottom. It goes from here, falls on itself. So again, the falling on itself I'm talking about is very, very useful, especially when you're out exploring the world and such. It's very useful, very, very useful in that it will guarantee that it's perpendicular. That perpendicularity it's super important. It is crucial to patterns looking real, not as nice as they can get. It informs them, it describes them, it gives them that sort of foundation. Yeah, important. You can see how if we combine both of them, we get like a little half square on the bottom there. So that's nice. I got my A3 described there at the bottom, extend these lines, and there we go. Of course, now we're just missing these as well. Now, every pattern sort of demands a different approach, and every pattern has a different clue. And what I really like about these sort of Islamic patterns that I've been folding recently, for instance, this one, is that the shape it's on, in this case it's a double square, informs the sort of relationship that you need in order to bring it to existence. Because you can sort of do the minimalist thing, right? You can be like, well, what's the function of it? Like, what is the most meaningful triangle of it? And sure, you might get like a little square with the pattern of it, but then you miss like all of this. Yeah. Well, in this case, we have also like it has an octagon there at the bottom in the corner. It doesn't have this sort of torso shapes at these points. So I'm just going to use the mirror lines, the half middle lines, to just bounce this pattern around. So it goes from one side to the other. Again, mind your sort of relationships, right? Keep in mind where these are landing, where they're falling on, what their relationships are. So this one actually has a very nice sort of a double weave to a star there in the middle. It might look messy, but it's very nice, the channels that are coming forth. So if you forget one, you can always like fold that one and be like, all right, so that one was falling there, that's falling here. So you can also try and find where things are happening. For instance, this one has a very nice relationship to this eightfold at this corner as well. So you can try to sort of fast forward in on that. So again, just bouncing off, making sure that everything is sort of supposed where it's supposed to be. Now I think I might have, no, that's correct. Very weird one. Yeah, a little bit off, but correct. So I just noticed about half the class left. So you see two things. Either they got fed up with whatever direction the class was taking, or they're saying, well, I might as well do it in the recording. I'm pausing, fast forwarded. So again, I'm doing the double mountain trick here at the corner of my 8. So pretty much this is the pattern we were doing on this side. Now I'm going to do it on the other side. Now the sort of the challenge now is not to get lost in all this pattern, right? Easier said than done. Again, as you fold it, you're going to sort of start to see some nice relationships come about, and you can use those as your guides. So again, do not be discouraged. It's the way of the world. I really like that sort of swastika looking thing, like that spiral that happens at this center. I enjoy it. I think it's a neat idea. Again, also you can see that there are these sort of squares that these crosses are happening in. So again, this sort of opens up to interpretation a lot of what the pattern might be described as. Remember, the mirror trick requires them to be different. So here I applied that mirror trick. I didn't go all the way, but I only applied it for there. Arranged it, put it into position, extend it, described it, on to the next one. Although, yeah, this might be a little bit of an overkill there. But let's see now. Now, the only thing that I have left to discover is just the octagon there at the top. It's not as simple as just this little guy. No. It has a little bit bigger sort of shape to it. See. It's this thing. So either it provokes these to be mirror shapes. So this could be actually, this shapes have this, it looks to me like it does have this, like this side is the same as this side, only mirrored. So that is also like a suggestion on it. We have the octagon, of course, big clue. But I think that these two, this shape is what the only thing we're missing. So again, it's not all the way down here. It's simply not all the way down there. I don't think it is. but it is that like same octagon shape, maybe just a little bit out. So what I would do is at this sort of intersection there, I would just do this. Just to make it bigger, see how that goes. Yeah, it seems to me that that's more correct. Now, if I am correct, that's another thing, but it does seem to be correct. The other one is just too wide. It's just not where I need it to be. So the line I'm putting on is perpendicular right there. So at that intersection, that's where I'm putting that line in. So it's like there, that intersection goes through the cross. So we could even do the double mountain trick on that one. Yeah, I don't even have to do it complete, just enough that I can sort of extend that line to the radial lines. I think I did the wrong line there. This one is correct. So it's this one. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I did it at the center line. It's more like in here. So this cross. Now it looks a little bit messy, so let's see if we can find some nice relationship for it in order for the next one. Let's see, so it goes there. That falls. You know, there might be something that falls on this point. I see it. This line, of course, falls on it. You know, doesn't even extend to the other one. It might be the best to leave it as is. Yeah, not to worry about it too much. So what are we missing? Just the bottom, really. This half is pretty much done. Only this other octagon there. And just the bottom. That should be it. That should be the pattern. And after this, I want to move on to this. Either a 10-fold or a 6-fold. I don't know. I've been playing around with the 6-fold a lot. I discovered this new tessellation, which is really nice. Another play on words. It gave me this very beautiful sort of Archimedean tiling configuration. It gave me the 6-3-4, 6-3-4-3. Yeah, 6-3-4-3. uppity, down, ba, down. So finally up in here. Shield shape, shield coming down. And finally, just at this point, intersection, falls on it, comes down a little bit more. It's weird how thoughts get channeled into this thing. It's just a very meditative practice in that, you know, you're kind of forced to sit with yourself and sort of, as you solve it, at least for me, like I can hear my thoughts like be amplified by these processes. It's just so repetitive sometimes, you know, that you have no say in the matter. It's just, you know, you're gonna be listening to yourself. And I don't know, I guess we're taught, or we, you know, it's popularly said that most people can't deal with their own thoughts. So I guess this is like the born by fire kind of approach. All right, yeah, so last step is just me getting in these sort of octagons at the corner. I'm using the mountain trick, the dull mountain trick. I'm gonna sort of change that up a little bit, change the beat of my drum into the mirror trick. Although the tricky part about sort of changing into the mirror trick is that, well, no, take it back, is that I need the full fold. At least to get, like, you know, properly done, I need the full fold. So I don't have it, I'm just gonna skip it. Or rather, I don't want to put it in because it's only useful for this segment of the pattern, so it's not really something that I need for anything else. So I try to keep it local, keep it isolated. So yeah, this might be the trick here. All right, finally. There you have it. So at least these are the lines of the pattern. Now, of course, you can take a tracing paper, multiply it, and well, what I figured would be the weave of it, which might be, you know, a little bit too much for right now, but it's this intersection. The intersection of the pattern with itself. So it's almost as if the weave would go like from here and then back. It would be a parallel line, but it's at this point where these lines hits this cross there, boom. And so then we just have to do an offset on the other side. It might be confusing with this sort of fold coming in. We could even use this distance as the weave distance. It's already there. But yeah. So this is the Islamic pattern of the day. Found in Delhi. And Tuma, well, of course, if you wanted to actually make it look like it Then here you go. Now you just have to like make a little like arc there. Maybe put a compass here. That's your radial. Go up. Maybe you can even, instead of, yeah, like that, maybe you can just go like this. Yeah, like a curve folding over there. There you go. A little too bright there on the screen, a little too much burn, but yeah, I really like this pattern. It's nice. It's at a double square. We focused in on this center, although this could be a center just as well. So because this, so could all these. So yeah, I don't know. It's a very nice pattern. Let's move on to the next one. So I'm just going to put this to the side over there. I'll take out another piece of paper. Well, it can either go one or two ways. You can go for the fivefoldness of it. I'm playing around with this sort of special rectangle, trying to find other rectangles, but the thing is, like, it's so modular, the fiveness, that it's hard to identify the rectangles with the pattern. Sometimes they don't even have like a special relationship of angles. It's more like the configuration of the pieces. Let's see what I mean. So we need a fivefoldness. Let's go for the pentagon. So for the pentagon, we need a square first. So I'm going to just mark my diagonal line. It's going to hit the corner of my edge there. So where that line hits, I have to fold back like so. Twist it, comes down, descends. And then at that point, well, that's why I cut it. Everybody got their square? And just click a little bit around here. All right, so first off, even though that we don't have the diagonal line, we can still use it. Now, I'm going to tell you what I mean in a bit. So we fold in half first. So we got to keep an eye out for where we have this diagonal line in. So for instance, we have it here, so we lift that up. We lift the corner that has the sort of diagonal square up. We fold this √5 line, so opposite to the opposite side like so, making sure that it's as spiky as can be. And now we do this intersection up in here. So we fold this √5 line. We have this edge and we put it on this fold right here. So I'm just going to extend the diagonal line that I had, and I'm going to look for where it hits this division that we just did. So again, we have a point. and where the diagonal line hits and where this bisection hits is a bisection of this. So at that point, we just have to fold the perpendicular line. So where that point is, we lift the paper up like so. And so again, if the lines are interacting, then that means that it's actually going through that point. If the lines weren't interacting or were interacting so nicely, then the lines would not be going through the same point. We cannot guarantee this. Yeah? So now we're going to copy this same line on the other side of the paper. Fold in half. Fold the same line but onto the other side. And we don't really need the whole line, really. We just need where that line hits the bottom of the paper. We don't need the whole line. So even like this step is maybe a little bit of an overkill. The only thing we're really worried about is that point where it hits the bottom of the paper. That's the only thing we really care about. This whole line business is extra. So now we take where that line hits the edge and we put it on the edge of the square here. Like so. But then, so you see how that falls on the edge there? Now we can slide it up and down. And we're looking for where this is hitting at this other point there. Where this line hits the edge, that's where we fold it. So it comes down, folds like so. Edge falls on the edge, or like point on the edge falls on the adjacent edge and hits this point of the line. I did a mirror trick there. I have the line folded as such. Then I have this to be my radial line. That's the line that goes through the middle of the paper. You see that? So I fold this as a valley, make it 3D. This is also the middle line. I keep that going, falls down, and also will hit the other one. So I've pretty much just copied it to the other side now. Now I have this shape. Both lines are coming in at where my lines were touching, right? So now that I have that, I can use these as hinges. Goes one way, and it actually will hit the edge as well. You can see there. It's the edge, 1 and 2. In just a second. Podstavite. Stojím krásně. Pojď se postavit taky. Yes. Sorry about that. The dog gets lonely. So now we have these two hinges. I'm using sort of like the bottom edge there in order to bounce around and copy this. You got those indecisive dogs that want to get in and then want to get out. I got one in this room right now. Dale pues, vamos para afuera. She wants to come in, she wants to go out, she wants to come in. So I guess the lesson we learned from the past design was that double square and the eightfold are very much closely related, which is interesting. So, okay, so now I have here a sort of a fivefold division. If I cut on this line, it would give me a pentagon, like right on it. I could just, either, just keep it going. But the pattern we're going for is actually going to be tenfold. So for instance, for this case, we actually want to construct a decagon, which means that we still got to bisect between these lines. So we could use a preliminary fold sort of way, like the square sort of way to get a decagon, which is that, we have these 5 sort of dart shapes. Everybody, I don't know if you guys are following or not, but I hope you are. But if you aren't, then, I'm just going to explain. And you can watch the recording and whatnot, but yeah. So we got these pockets. Take these pockets down. No, actually, no. You know what? Take it back. Take it back. You already did in a slang pattern. So now I'm going to teach you a modular on the pentagon. This one I discovered a long time ago. So I'm just actually going to cut it. Well, no, I'm not going to take out my guillotine for this. I'm actually but I'm going to fold it. I'm going to fold this pentagon. So what I do is I notice that there's this point that's the center of my pentagon. I sort of find it at the lowest point it can be. So this line is longer than this one. That's the idea. So on the longer side, I take that edge and I put it onto the same edge, the radial line division of the 5. That's for 1. That's for 2. And 3. So now that I have my pentagon, I'm just going to cut out the edges. Yeah, very weird feelings right now. I wonder. Cloudy day. Just gonna shave everything off. Just gonna shave the edges, make sure that they are as straight as can be. Not, I can just fold them back like so. So anyway, we're gonna take the edge, we're gonna put it onto the center like so. Middle point towards the center. Midpoint center. Midpoint center. Now this trick is very useful. It's like, I don't know what to call it, but I call it like I don't know what to call it, the corner trick, I suppose. But the idea is you have a shape that's similar to the polygon that you're working with. And the idea is you take two edges that are connecting at a single point like this. 1, 2. So I take both of them and then I have this excess. So if I didn't like raise it up at the intersection, it would look like this. It would just hide it. However, what I want is for these to come together and fall. So 1, 2, one side. And the other side. So yeah, we keep this going for all 5 of them. We have all 5 that actually will look like this. So now we have it spinning. One way, the other. So here I'm just making sure that these are all nicely coming in, spinning. So I'm going to take another fold at this. See, one could fold it either from the corner to where this line ends, or I'm going to go for the corner to the radial line like so. See, what I'm thinking now is that maybe, just maybe, we still need another level to this. Like not yet to twist it. Maybe it wasn't like this. It was more like this. It was more there. See, I'm going to do one step further. So what I mean is, instead of going for center point to the middle line like so, I'm more aiming for my radial lines to go towards my radial lines on top there, these. So also these sorts of folds can help us describe like this sort of ripple. As you can see, it kind of goes like 1, 2, 1, 2. So it goes, yeah, it sort of changes up and down. But we could actually do this 1, 2, 1, 2. So the advantage of having the line go after the center. So see, notice here how, if we fold these, there's no additional. So that's also like maybe a good thing, at least for sake of having it be easy. But then if we go over, so here we're crossing the middle line, then the twist will also cross the middle line. And so it will be more of how do you say, like it will lock a little bit better. Sorry, I was out of frame. Sort of start to see. Interestingly enough, it'll be almost parallel. So I always sort of go both ways. Like I get my edge and I fold both ways. So I get my edge, 1, 2. One and 2. One and 2. Once you have all 5 of them done, then you can sort of combine them. What I mean by combine them is to have them fold at the same time. But see, now you can use those sorts of edges to twist, and there you go. Now here we can use also like the line that we had before. No, but since it doesn't cross the center, like this one, well, I know it has a lot of interference. But it does have this, which is nice. It does go up. You can push that forward like so. I think it should even be smaller, like this this pentagon. I mean, sure, it looks nice. It's a nice star, and I know for the fact that this one actually has a very nice relationship regarding. It doesn't. It's not this one then. Go a little deeper. So it's not this one. So is it that small that we just have to take the edge up to the edge, like the corners to the edge? A little too small. Well, this is nice that well, of course, that makes sense. That's pretty much what we're doing. We're printing the radial lines onto the fold. Yeah, we need this. All right, let's do it. So yeah, corners to the edges of the pentagon. Small pentagon, pentagram. And again, repeating the edge trick. So 1, 2. This is pretty much like a very natural way of sort of making twists, pretty much. Twist at any polygon. Because what we're doing is printing the internal angle, the internal triangle, like this triangle, and we're copying it outwards. And so what that allows is for this triangle to fall into this one. That's pretty much all we've been doing on all of them. Now what I'm looking for is one that will do this, but also have enough additional in order to fall, like to weave or to connect with another one. That's in order to make a dodecahedron. Because if we could tie a pentagon to another pentagon, then we could cut the middleman and just, instead of making a modular that is tied by edges, we can make a modular that's tied by faces. So it would be like a flat dodecahedron. So I think I'm missing, no, that's all of them. I'm looking at it, I think it's too small. And we'll see what happens. I mean, at least it's a little more interesting in that we have like a nice twisted pentagon shape. And, you know, if this falls into the idea that, you know, like the hexagons, then we could find another pentagon somewhere around here and, you know, twist it as well. And that could also be a thing we do. Oh, it's very nice just to look at pentagons and the way that they sort of collapse in on each other. But let's see. So I'm just following the edge onto the fold. The reason I'm doing that is because when I did it, actually had a very nice relationship to the corner. So I folded it like this, and this fold actually falls on the edge of the pentagon. So okay. I'm folding them on top because, you know, I'm anticipating that I will need to twist this. So now we'll unfold and sort of do the same thing, but with these sort of properly tucked. what I'm doing is, well, I'm going to use one of the opposites because I have here that, these lines are coming together. So I can use that as a double, sort of like a backwards, same like repetition of the same process. On the underside, repeat the edge trick almost. Wow, I'm so out of focus. So now my question would be, could these be used as flaps, almost as if I made another one like this, could this then fit into this pocket almost? Could this tuck into another one like this and make sort of like this very beautiful sort of dodecahedron that would have like these flowers in it? I think that'd be cool. Let's see. So I guess there's only one way to find out, right? Now, because of all the folds I did before, it's sort of a little bit, it's a little bit tricky. So for the next one, I'm just gonna fold the ones that I know work, the ones that I know make this shape, which is rather nice. Yeah. So a quick way to solve for it would be just to fold this back and see where it lands. So I'm just gonna do one more, see how that works. Yeah, I hope you guys have been enjoying the lesson. Well, with all this going around. So again, fold the paper in half. Yeah, get a pentagon, and then start with all the other stuff. So again, it should be rather simple once we have the pentagon to fold the shape. It's just two sort of twist stars. Let's see how that goes. It's a very unwise move. Here's better. Well, the reason why I changed it up is because here I sort of missed the edge there. I ripped it up a little bit too much. So it's better to be sure that what I'm following is actually the edge, the corner. Everything changes. Everything just sort of is so subject to change. But you know, that could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing. And from good turns to bad, from bad turns to good. So nothing is really stable. So that's why I believe that certainty is death. And to be too sure of something is a way to guarantee disappointment in a way. Nothing is going to stay the way it is. And I guess that's why having a garden is so good for the soul and the body and the spirit and the mind. Because it really is changing all the time. It requires your attentiveness, it requires your constancy, it requires that you are present as much as you can be and keep other insects or other plants from invading your garden and having the plants that you choose to be there. You know, like it's one of those things that people like to fantasize about, right? The end of days, the apocalypse kind of thing. And what I mean by that is like that fantasy of buildings coming to be dominated or completely conquered by nature, right? Nature taking itself back almost. And these buildings covered with vines. I don't know why, but like there are these, you know, branches of thought of that like to imagine a world without humans, but those kinds of hypothetical analysis of situations almost always include, what if one day all of us were gone? And then they just imagine as though like everything was just empty one day to another, but that makes no sense at all. That just is such a waste of time and analysis. And I've seen episodes of several TV shows, but they actually like to pretend that happens. And that just makes no sense to me. But fine, let them have little fantasies. But I think that what is worthwhile noting, like just thinking about, is what would actually happen if we stopped taking care of ourselves or taking care of our machines. Like the natural state of things is broken. And I don't mean that it's like, I mean that if you left the machine to its own devices to fend for itself, the machine would just break. The machine's natural state is just broken. It's just not. For a machine to function, it requires you to be there. It requires your participation, your care almost. You need to put fuel on it. You need to make sure the hinges, the wheels are turning, the motor is running, the microchip is whatever. It's cold, I guess. No, it's not. It doesn't have to be cold. Soldered. No, microchips are different, but they do have to not balance, but they do have to manage the flow of electrons. So there's that. By the way, when I fold these in, I'm also noticing that it falls on this intersection there. So that's also an advantage of those lines. Actually, having those lines might be, you know, tactical advantage in some way. There's a relationship between those lines and the pentagon. The pentagon and the square apparently have this very beautiful, intimate relationship through this division, as we can see. So I'm going to take away all the edges, everything that's not a pentagon coming off. I don't know, people like to relate, people like to connect with each other. And even hate can bring people together. So maybe not even destruction and war and death and all these like bad things are truly all bad. Some people like to come together through that stuff. I'm not advocating for any of that stuff, but I think so black and white is it. So again, I'm just going to use the essentials, corners to the edge, to the edge. They actually touch, which is interesting. Maybe I didn't notice that before because of all the other lines, but that's actually touching there. Oop. That's actually touching there as well. So this is a very nice division. Actually, will produce a pentagon inside a pentagon. So that's nice. Very internal relationship there. So now we have to do the edge to edge trick. Well, thank you all if you're watching this video, I want to thank you for your support, for your participation. I hope that somehow this video can help you do something creative. I hope that it helps you tap into that creative spirit and your humanity, and that it inspires you to try and venture forth into the unknown and find something that is worth doing. And may your quest, turn out fruitful. And if you find something that you think I might find interesting, please share. I'd love to hear about it. Now the star that I did for this one was, let's see, can't believe I already forgot. Yeah, it's this point and then edge up and yeah, apparently like this line is falling on that one. No, it's not. Oh yeah, what I was taking into account was where this little pentagon was making a sort of a perpendicular line. So where that pentagon hits, and just make sure that that line falls on itself. This one might actually, it looks like it wants to hit. This line actually falls on itself, so some nice relationships happening. But yeah, the main crux, the main observation is the bottom pentagon, making sure that it lines up perpendicular to it. There we go. So once we have that, I think this one could use a little work. Yeah, once we have that, we repeat the edge trick on these. So because there's a little flap to it, I keep that down. I only mind this top. So here I'm just like speeding the process up and just sort of anticipating where it's all gonna go. But the idea would be to do these individually, right? That would be the correct, that would be the proper. But here I'm just sort of making them fall. So the disadvantage doing it this way, where I'm just sort of pressing and pulling and pushing, is that yeah, that's not as accurate as one could make it. You can see how these are falling on different points almost. But for right now, I think it's okay. Now let's see if this fits with the other one. Might need a little bit like this. Now this is a little bit nicer, so it actually falls real nice, but not underneath, but underneath the smaller pentagon there. It actually does like very naturally match. So that's one way. This could be the other way. Yeah, but I guess we need 3 of them to actually like see this via dodecahedron, at least the beginning of it. Also to actually test how well this junction works. So if I had to guess, I would also like make it maybe a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Doing like little boxes also works. But yeah, in order for these to fit, this does need to take away a little bit. Let's see, what if we did this? I don't know, maybe this isn't like the best solution for it. It's still not, tightly bound. I think the best bet is like actually down here beneath that one. And still that seems iffy. We could again apply a twist here, like a nest. So that's the other thing, like one would have to go underneath and when then one's like left hanging. So if it's gonna be 3 of these. No, these needs a little bit, this design needs a little bit more work. I think I can figure something out for this. But for now, I think it has to stay as this like nice nested star, which more stars could be nested onto. Yeah, but as a modular, this might need a little bit of, there's something here, but it might need a little bit more work. So here I'm just folding the edges onto the radial line of the pentagon, and the idea would be to connect them and sort of fold them in unison. So according to the center also has a very nice relationship to this division, apparently. Goes to the top. Yeah, it still needs a little work. We'll leave it there for now. I'll get back to you on this modular piece. I know that there's something there. But for now, well, we played around with that, but this is pretty much the complete. And now it just needs a little bit more work on the painting. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, I'll catch you around the next one. Take care now.